G'day, welcome to The Unspoken Truth. I'm your host, Rob Russ, and I'm joined by my good mate, Ed Anderson in Minnesota, 2:30 Minnesota time, and, 2:40 Minnesota time, and 5:40 Sydney time. We're a little bit late today, sorry about that, folks, but welcome to the show. We've got some really important topics. As I was looking through what I was going to be speaking about today, I was actually doing that last night. I was doing the homework and the research, and I realized quickly that this show will be one of the most important shows that I've ever done. And I'm nudging up against 900 podcasts now, so this might be one of the most important ones. So stay tuned to see what we've got today. Welcome to The Unspoken Truth, folks. If this is your first time here, it's great to have you here. Ed and I like to look at the mainstream media and pull back the curtain behind what's really going on and give you the unspoken truth behind the narrative. We're available as a podcast as well, so make sure you pop open your favorite podcasting app and have a checkers over there and look for The Unspoken Truth. You'll find us there. We're also available on Twitter, Telegram, and Rumble. Make sure you scroll down, and in the show notes, the links that we're going to be using today are already in the show notes for you. I've got it locked and loaded and prepared for us. And there's also the link to the Telegram channel. Please come over there and join us over there. We use that to show you the real unspoken truth behind what's actually going on, because we're not allowed to say that here on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter even in some spaces. We have to self-censor like a bunch of communist commissars. So we don't do that over on Telegram because there's no one to censor us. So come on over and spend some time with us over there. Just be careful if you do come over there. It comes with a warning. There's some R-rated content in there, and there's some pretty heavy stuff that if you click one of those buttons, you see some stuff, you might not unsee it, mostly relating to the war in Ukraine. So it does come with a warning, and I just want to make sure that I give that warning when you come on over. But if you want to find out what's really going on the ground there, come on over, because I've got a lot of connections in the Telegram channel there as well and in the chat. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Elon Musk. He done a cool interview with Babylon Bee yesterday in the Twitter headquarters. That was kind of cool if you saw that. We also know that Neuralink has got an FDA approval this week, which is, I can't decide if it's good or bad. It could be used for good and it could be used for evil, like all things, I guess. Ed's going to talk to us about the big tech and what their end game is. And I was trying to figure out how to say it. Big tech, is that like even a word?
No, big tech. You put an S in there. You got to get that S.
Big techs is like plural. I think the apostrophe goes at the end of the letter S.
I think, big. That's right. Apostrophe S. That's right.
Yeah, there it is there. And I'm going to show you, this is probably the most important topic that I've ever discussed on this show. Now, I don't want to be a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, but I have to say that I was right about everything that happened with COVID. I was right about it. I was right about all of it. And it doesn't really take very much effort to be right about something, especially when the mainstream narrative and the mainstream media is trying to show you something. You can join the dots pretty quickly. That's why it's really important that you pay a little bit of attention to the news and what's going on, particularly the mainstream news. Now, I wouldn't use that as a source of truth, but what I would do is understand the narrative that's going on. And every news story you see, you've got to ask yourself a question: why are they showing me this? To what end? Who stands to gain the most out of this? And every story that you see and every media message that you see perpetuated out there in the mainstream is to an end. And today I'm going to show you one that is maybe a prediction that I've had for a little while and I've been talking about for a little while. But Alex Jones, the OG Unspoken Truth dude, really put it together for me yesterday, and it kind of confirmed everything that I'd thought as well. All right, before we get into any of that, Ed, have you got some opening remarks for us today?
Hey, Robbie. Yeah, so great to see you, man, by the way. You had a busy day yesterday. So shout out to all my friends in the Hey Ed WhatsApp group and to all of my followers on the Hey Ed YouTube channel. We do now stream on the Hey Ed YouTube channel. So hello to all you guys in the comment section. If you guys don't mind, please say hello to us. Give us some comments during the presentation here. Let us know what you think as we go along. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, also, man, as I mentioned before, all of the links in today's show are down there in the show notes, and you can find Ed's channel down there as well. I've just got it up on the screen. I want to let you take it away. What's the first thing you want to talk about there, Ed? You want to talk about the FDA thing or the big tech stuff? Where are you going to go?
Well, I think we have to talk about what's going on at Neuralink, today, and the implications thereof. And both, I've got two clips today. They're both very small, but they're complementary to the clip, but but a little different subject matter. So I thought I'd split them up. They're very short because I did a test run and I ran into some copyright issues with some of the clips that I wanted to use, so I had to take a lot of them out. But I think it still makes sense. All right, so let's get to the first one. Do you want to live forever? Let's talk about it.
Elon Musk's company Neuralink has just received FDA approval to start testing brain chip implants in humans.
So there you have it. Elon Musk's Neuralink just got approval to conduct human experiments, human trials with their Neuralink device. Now, of course, anything that can cure issues like paralysis, depression, obesity, and any other number of medical conditions, how can you not be for this? You know what I've always found kind of curious? You know that line, do you want to live forever? It's classically used by, sergeants and majors who want to inspire their men to charge into battle. Do you want to live forever? I mean, they expect the answer to that question is, no, I don't want to live forever. Let's charge into a wave of bullets. And I will confess that, if I were in that trench getting ready to charge into the enemy's line of fire, I will confess that, if I were one of those soldiers, I might be the smart aleck in the group who chimes up and says, yeah, I do want to live forever. Or at least, I'd like to get through the day, So I always found that that kind of curious, that kind of motivational line. Do you want to live forever? And maybe that guy standing next to me might say, yeah, you know what? I'd kind of like to live forever too. As long as I'm not on a ventilator or something. Well, there are incredible advancements in medicine, and apparently they're on the verge of reversing aging and curing all sorts of ailments that, 50 years ago were just a pipe dream. Okay, so listen, be honest with me. I am sure that the vast majority of you, if you had a chance of reversing your aging or curing some of your maladies and just, living longer, come on, I'm sure you would take it, right? So the next question is, what are you willing to give up for that? Are you willing to give up some of your privacy? Are you willing to give up some of your humanity? What if by having a device like this Neuralink in your head meant that you had to give up your most private information, not just your literal personal information, but your actual thoughts and then maybe even your personality? One of my favorite shows was that Highlander movie and that TV series. The idea of living forever, and you can see history unfold. I think that'd be a fascinating thing to witness. Yeah, you might lose some loved ones around the way, but you just get another one, right? But please, in the comment section below, let me know whether you would like to live forever, and maybe even share what you'd be willing to give up, if anything, in order to achieve that. Now, in my next presentation, I'm going to take this a step further, so please look for that. All right, so men, do you want to live forever? Let's go.
Actually, Sarge, yes, I do. I at least want to see the afternoon, right? I need a brew, or I'm going to go to the shitter, man. Come on, at least to that point. It's a really good question, right? I can remember it must have been in the early. It was just before the year 2000. I remember as we're nudging up against the year 2000, there was this thing for the people out there, maybe a bit younger than you or me, Ed, that don't know about it. It's called the Y2K bug. So they thought that there was a problem in Windows where the calendar wouldn't tick over, and that was a bug inside of Windows itself, and it was called Y2K. So for the Y year 2K 2000, year 2000 bug. And there was millions of dollars spent trying to fix this problem, which never actually existed. And it was just a giant scam and a ruse. And I remember thinking around that time and seeing content around that time at the very genesis of the internet, people saying that, oh, look, in 20 years' time, we would have cured all ailments. And we can cure all disease because of the advance in computer technology at the rate that we're going with Moore's Law. Now, I think we're a little bit off with that prediction 20 years ago, but if you fast forward another 20 years into the future, I think you might be on the money. And a large percentage of the reason for that is because of the revolution in AI technology. And AI technology in different ways, not as in ChatGPT, but as in being able to understand imaging better And that's actually one of the first things that AI became really good at, was looking at images and identifying what's going wrong. So they can take some MRI scans of somebody's body, their brain, whatever they're scanning, and they can feed it to a machine, and the machine can tell you exactly what's wrong with you much faster than any doctor can. And then they can figure out how to treat that person as well. And it said that treatment is going to go to an individual level based on your genetics. So they take your DNA sequence, they understand your genetics, they understand what's wrong with you. Now they know exactly how to fix that part that's wrong with you. And we've seen a little bit of that with, you might remember Angelina Jolie had a double mastectomy, but she never even had breast cancer. And it's like, well, why would somebody go and do that to themselves? And it's because she did the testing to see that she was in the very, very high percentile range to develop that. So eventually that's going to happen to you anyway. So she got ahead of it to solve that. And I mean, that's a pretty extreme case of it, but that's an example of DNA type tech being used to actually solve a problem before it arises. And there's a really good show I watched a couple of months ago with Thor. What's the actor's name?
Hemsworth?
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth, that's the one. And it's all about living longer and pushing yourself and stuff like that. And they do all these blood tests on him. Yep. And they find that he is at really super high risk of Alzheimer's. And you see when he gets this news, it really, really rattles him, like really badly. And I think because his granddad, who was really close to him in his life, suffered from that as well. And the mental decline that he went through was like quite traumatic for him as a young man. And then now he's potentially on the receiving end of something like that. So now what do you do to negate that? Well, that's a neurological thing, right? But is that related to diet and lifestyle? A lot of people think so. So now you got to live that lifestyle to maybe potentially prevent something like this. So my question to you, Ed, is do you want to live forever? If you knew you were going to get those diseases, would you do something to negate them, to mitigate them? I mean, gosh, it's pretty extreme, some of it, especially what Angelina did.
Yeah, I probably would. Now, there are a few important caveats here. Okay, so let me tell you a little story that is relevant here. It kind of paints the picture. So when I was in high school, one of my teachers put out a hypothetical. He said, if I gave each one of you $1 million to spend a year in prison, take a year out of your life, would you do it? Of course, me being a smartass. No, everyone in the class said, no, there's no way. I'm not going to give up my freedom for a year just for $1 million. They're too high-minded for that. They're too, and I'm thinking, $1 million for a year? I said, yeah, I'll take it. $1 million solves a lot of problems, right? Just for a year of your life. So as you get older, you see things in a different perspective. And when I was a young guy, I wasn't the idealist that most of my contemporaries were. But I probably would have thought, nah, I'm not going to get an artificial. I'm not going to put a thing put in my head. That's but now that I'm a little older, if I thought, hey, this thing's going to extend my life for another 30 years, and I'm going to have a better quality of life, and if they have stem cell therapy, everything give me that makes my heart stronger. At this point in my life, I'm much more willing to consider doing it. I probably would do it. If my doctor said Ed, I can improve I can have you running a marathon by the end of the summer if you go on this therapy for a few months. I'm more likely to go for it. So as you get older, you start seeing things a little more clearly. So the answer to the question is, yeah, I almost certainly would. Now, unless it involved killing a fetus in order to get the stem cells that I need. Okay, that's where I do have some lines that I would draw.
Some ethical lines. For me.
If that little thing in my head is going to make me smarter, and it's going to avoid Alzheimer's and just make my life a whole lot better, but the government's going to be able to see my thoughts, or it's going to see, or it can control my moods for me. Okay, I draw that line, right? So, and I'll talk about that in my next segment. So there are lines that I will not cross.
That's really good. Before I respond to that, I just want to share my screen quickly with everybody, and I'll put the link to this in the show notes after the show because I'm unable to do that whilst I'm doing it. I want everyone to head on over to Canadian Prepper. So just in YouTube. So this guy is really awesome. I get some good stuff here. He talks about a lot of different things. There's a great video just here. Okay, so this guy here, his name is, so just pause the video and see what I clicked on, but his name is Dr. Hugo de Grasse. And Dr. Hugo de Grasse wrote a book 40 years ago. So this is why I want you to go over there and watch that video. And he's talking about AI. And so he wrote this book 40 years ago, and it's about the 3 different classes in society that happen as a result of AI. And he never thought that he would see this in his lifetime. And now that we have ChatGPT and we have other huge advancements in artificial intelligence, and now we've got this Neuralink thing, what he's predicted in his fictitious book has come to pass. So he's a professor, right? He's a physicist, and he's like a really smart dude, and he's sitting around, pontificating. Well, what happened if, what would happen if we could live forever? What would that actually mean? So it's not really in the same way as you could think. So just imagine if you were in a car accident today and you broke every bone in your body, or you were a fighter pilot and you were ejected from the plane and you were going a little bit too fast and you broke every bone in your body. Medical science can fix you. They can fix just about anything that happens mechanically to you. Even if your bones are shattered, they can put you back together. Even if your knee joints don't work anymore, or your hip joints or your shoulder joints, they can replace all of that. So biomechanically, we can repair just about anything. And there's plenty of people that have lost limbs and now have robotic legs and they have cyborg type features, which is actually really cool. What we haven't quite achieved is to fix all ailments related to non-biomechanical things. So the chemistry of your body, we haven't solved cancer. We can't solve viruses. There's so many different things that we can't fix, right? But in his book, he talks about, he just dispenses with all of that stuff. And he does a really good job explaining the 3 classes of people. So there's the super intelligence. And is the super intelligence going to be what controls society? Well, maybe. If you look at there's plenty of TV shows out there about super intelligence controlling society, and Westworld is a really good example of that. If you've ever watched that show, in the first series is like really cool. It's quite a novelty. The second series, you're like, where's this going? The third series, you're like, what the hell? And it ends in a place that you just you couldn't possibly comprehend. But the idea is that the computer runs everything because the computer is way smarter than you. It knows you better than you know yourself. And it puts you into the position in the society where you belong. And people can live pretty happy like that. So one aspect is the supercomputer running every aspect of your life, of every single person's life. The next aspect is normal people, pure bloods like you and me, Ed, that want to resist and rage against the machine and don't want anything to do with that. And the third one is what you talked about. They're cyborgs. They're part computer and they're part AI and they're part human all at the same time. And what those people want and what the computer wants is to ascend humanity into that point. So I think I'm butchering the guy's story a little bit, but if you go and watch that interview, and I'll put the link to it in the description afterwards, it's really worth your time because he takes you to a place that you've never thought of before. But you've never thought of it because you never thought that artificial intelligence or artificial general intelligence like we are seeing now, or on the precipice of it now, you never thought you'd see it in your lifetime. You're like, the singularity, that'll be in 2040 or 2050 or something like that. No, it's like this year. It's happening this year. The singularity is this year. Artificial general intelligence is this year. Humanity's come to this culmination. And then what he's saying is that human beings will be in an existential fight with each other about whether or not we should allow the machines to do it or we should not. And, it's said that part of the reason that aliens are not here on planet Earth is because they're watching us, looking at us, waiting to figure out whether or not we're going to actually get past that point of the singularity, or we're going to destroy each other. And unfortunately, I think I'm on the destroy each other side of the ledger.
All right, so let me ask you a question now. In my research, one of the clips that I had talked about, and I had to remove it because of the copyright thing. But one of the videos talked about how, and this is a woman who had an artificial arm, and it was robotic. She was a cyborg, and
it's amazing technology. Hey,
yeah,
they have like little motors in them, and they can move their hands and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
And she said she was really excited about the advancement, which I would get, right, if someone in her position. She said she thinks that day is going to come soon where people are going to voluntarily give up an arm, give up a leg to get a bionic leg, to become a better person, become stronger, become more agile or whatever. So now this is where bioethics really has to kick in and play a role. At what point are we going to tell people, no, you can't, your arm is perfectly good. Your arms are perfectly good. Your arms and your legs are perfectly good. We're not going to allow you to chop them off and replace them with artificial limbs.
Hold the phone there. Yeah. I feel like that I'm a girl, so now I'm going to go and sterilize myself and get rid of my male genitalia and have bottom surgery, and there's no ethics associated with it at all. They're the butchers of the 21st century, these doctors allowing to do that. So, you know, that's the worst possible thing that you could do to a human, is cut off their genitalia. Genital mutilation is what it is. You know, they call it these nice things, bottom surgery, top surgery, whatever. It's genital mutilation in any way you look at it, whether it's from fundamentalist Islamic people in Africa doing it to women, or American doctors doing it to teenage girls and boys in the United States and here in Australia. That is genital mutilation. So I don't think it's really a long bow to draw to say, you know what, my shoulder's busted, man. Can you replace my whole arm? Yeah, sure. No worries. Come on in. Pay $12,000. Come in.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I think you got a point there. Given the things that we're already allowing,
that's really what I'm saying.
All bets are off now. You know, we've blown open the doors. The hinges are off. Anything goes kind of environment. That's an excellent point.
Let me share a quick Star Wars story with you. Are you a fan of Star Wars?
The first one. After that, no.
The first couple. I remember the second three came out when my boys were like the right age, right? In the late 2000, in the noughties. And I remember taking my son Travis to see one of those movies, and there's a character in there called General Grievous. And General Grievous is this like cyborg robot thing, just hunched over thing, and it has like 4 arms and 2 legs, and he's like spinning around all of these like sharp swords and stuff like that. And I remember little Travis being fascinated by General Grievous and being like, wow, that's a cool character, right? Little boy's mind, he really loved that. But I was really like, it's like awful, because it's a robot and it's just it's a brain, like a human brain. And so imagine if you could
but he had a heart, right? I mean,
he must have. I don't know. No. I can't remember.
Yeah, he had an organic heart. That's how he killed him.
Yeah. But the point is, like, imagine if you
everything else mechanical,
RoboCop style, take your brain and the things that make you a human and place it into a machine.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
It doesn't seem like much of a leap from Neuralink, where we are.
Well,
if I can put a chip in my brain that makes my spinal cord work again, and I was paralyzed and now I'm not, I can walk, or I can solve whatever problem I can solve. It doesn't seem like much of a leap to be able to take that. You know, that's the next evolution of it. Like, is that what we want?
As long as I had at least the one essential part of my body, that's mine and works, then I'm okay. But if I lose that, what's the point?
Which part is that exactly? Your
I'm
middle finger?
I'm trying. Yeah, my little finger. Yeah,
I need to do something to the government.
I'm trying not to get censored here, buddy. You know, you keep pushing the edges of the.
I'm trying to find where the electric fence is.
Yeah,
see if we can get zapped.
I think half of our audience tunes in just to see whether we're still on the air.
I think you might be right. Awesome. Well, it's an interesting conversation for sure, and the ethics of it are something that humans have not really had to think about very much. There's a lot of people out there that say Neuralink is a very bad idea. And I think, like all technology, it can be used for good and for evil. Nuclear energy is an example of that. You know, it's the cleanest energy on planet Earth, and it has the least amount of waste. But for whatever reason, we don't want to use more of that because, I don't know, for whatever reason. And I think maybe I'll join the dots for you that in the next segment.
Okay, well, okay, so can I do the next, in the next segment, we do kind of touch upon this subject matter, but let's bring it up anyway. Okay, so in my previous segment, I talked about the topic of whether or not you would want to live forever, right? And we talked about some of the technology that's evolving today, including Elon Musk's Neuralink. But now I want to talk to you about the real end game behind big tech. Are they really just being altruistic? Do they really just want to extend your life and make your life better? Or are there more nefarious intentions involved?
Because you asked for it.
Okay, so let's assume that technology evolves to the point where we can extend people's lives, not only extend their lives literally, but also a better quality of life. And all you have to do is to get an implant in your head and have things installed in your body so that you literally become part of the matrix. Now, imagine that you're a member of an authoritarian state. Let's take a quick look right now at a sample of the kind of control that's already going on in the world.
Here in this Shanghai surveillance center, no resident goes unwatched. Hundreds of millions of cameras are installed all over China.
We
have algorithms that automatically recognize certain behaviors. If someone isn't wearing a mask, for example, we immediately detect this wrongdoing.
In one instance, the AI detects a construction worker not wearing a safety helmet. Sheng Dan co-developed the system. It took less than a year to get the first version up and running. Now she can monitor every resident from this office. Residents who aren't following the rules are captured on camera from 3 different angles.
As soon as the squads and volunteers in residential districts spot an issue, they can report it and upload footage. They take a photo, report the issue, and then our system automatically decides which department to forward the matter to.
Among those under surveillance are people who recently moved, who traveled abroad, who appear in a government database of potential suspects as well as their contacts, who use an unusually large amount of electricity, or whose cell phone wasn't logged into a network for a while. In Shanghai, there's big money in data collection. That's why huge corporations have set up shop in China, like the tech company Tencent, the Alibaba Group, and ByteDance, which markets itself as cosmopolitan in promo videos. As the parent company of TikTok, ByteDance is the world's most valuable startup.
Okay, so I kind of picked on China there, but it's not just China. Okay, many other countries are adopting this surveillance state mentality. They want to control every aspect of your life. Whether you get an actual implant in your head or you're just addicted to this guy, the government wants to control every aspect of your life. We have to push back. If you're a truly freedom-loving individual and you enjoy your personal sovereignty, you have to do whatever you can. And it's becoming more and more difficult to stay outside of the matrix. But every little thing that you can do to avoid joining the matrix, you should try to push back on. We have a CBDC coming up. This is a gateway to complete control of your life. We have digital IDs that are already developed and in place. Ukraine, Estonia, these countries have already developed it. By the way, why do they develop these first in these non-democratic societies? And yeah, I'm sorry, but Ukraine and Estonia, they're not real democracies, okay? Particularly in like Ukraine, the most corrupt country in the world, or at least in Europe. There's a very real reason why they developed that Dia app in Ukraine first. Because those kind of totalitarian controls are really a hallmark of totalitarianism, and most freedom-loving people in democratic societies are going to reject these or push back on them. That's why these kind of programs are being introduced kind of stealthily, but you need to be aware of them. So again, in the comments section below, let me know how you feel about the idea of the government, any government, tracking your every move, your every expense, your every action. I mean, I don't know, maybe you're perfectly fine with it. And I'd be curious to know. But in the meantime, I encourage everybody, any freedom-loving person, to start taking steps to make sure you secure your personal freedom, not just for you, but for your children. Reduce your exposure to the bank, buy some gold and silver, and establish streams of passive recurring income.
Oh, baby.
All right.
Oh, baby. When you show big tech and AI and cameras and surveillance state and that woman who doesn't think she's doing anything wrong, I don't know, man. I just feel like it seems like a movie. It doesn't seem real, but it's real.
It is real, and that's just it, right? I think most people think, oh, come on, there's no way that would happen in America. There's no way that would happen here. I think a lot of people don't even believe it's happening in China. They just don't believe it because it just sounds so ridiculous. It sounds so, who would do that and who would get away with that? Well, it is happening, and it's happening in our own. It's happening in America. All right, it is underway here. This is a big push globally. This is a global push. So I think everyone already knows that you and I don't trust the government that much. And I'm going to throw big tech into the category. I don't trust big tech at all either. They're in cahoots with the government. We do have that public-private relationship going on between big tech and the government. So,
well, that's been proven, right, with the Twitter files. That's absolutely proven. It's also been proven with all the Russia stuff has been proven to be completely fake. And when you look at, when I look at all of those things in their totality, I think to myself, why would you want to do that? Nah, that can't come here. Like it just seems unbelievable to me. But that goes to the very heart of the conversation that we had about optimism bias and all sorts of different biases that you have in your life. And a lot of that optimism bias that you have, like, that can't ever come here. And that's because it's not here and you haven't seen it and you haven't witnessed it firsthand and you've never been on the receiving end of it. But just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it can't happen. And it's happening, as you say, it's happening in Ukraine right now. And it's happening in China right now. It's happening in many, many parts of the world right now. I saw on security cameras, there was a funny thing that happened in Senate estimates here in Australia just in the last couple of days. They figured out that some of the security cameras on Australian Defence Force bases were Chinese based. And they're like, how many is there? And some last Senate estimates, they go, 1. And then, and he goes, oh, well, you're going to take it out? Yeah, we'll sort that out. And then these poor people, they've gone away and gone, really? There must be more than 1, surely. Yeah. And they went and looked proper, and the poor lady, she gets back in front of him, and the senator goes, well, was there more than 1? Because you reported to the media that there was like 200 or something. How many is there in total? And she goes, oh, we did a proper audit, and there was like 465 of them. Something like that. And he was like, what? She goes, oh, they're all gone. We took them all out. It's all sorted. Don't worry. And none of them were connected to the internet. So if you just think about that for a second, there was 465 cameras. Forget about the fact that they were Chinese on these military bases. You literally can't go anywhere without being on camera. I could probably walk up and down my street here, but because there's no street cams here. But the minute 5 minutes away up in the local strip of shops, there's cameras everywhere. And when I see that, I sort of think, well, there is a lot of crime around here. There's a lot of rat bags around here, and they need to be able to stop that from happening. But that's the good side of the ledger, right? I want to live in law and order. Yeah, your phone, they're tracking everything.
They still know where you are, Rob.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? And they can hear you and they can see you and listen to you as well. There was a great police operation that happened here in Australia, and it was actually funny because the cops outsmarted these crooks pretty. You wouldn't think they'd be able to do it. They created an app, and the app was an encrypted app, and they marketed, so the police developers marketed this app like it was the best app ever with security. It was better than Signal, better than WhatsApp, better than all of this. And all of these crooks started to hear about it. So all the undercover police are like, hey man, I'll communicate you with it like this. Have you seen this? It's really good. This is what it is. And then all of the crime syndicates came onto this app, and the cops just let it go for, I think it was like 18 months or 2 years. It was like it was a while. And they're gathering all the evidence and they're gathering all of this. But while they're gathering the evidence against the criminals, what else are they gathering? So I didn't know that was like a honeypot. And I went there and downloaded that app, and then I'm communicating about sensitive things related to my business, my personal life, and all of those things. And the police can see all of it. And I just go, we're not worried. You weren't doing anything wrong, Rob. It's okay, mate. You're good. You're good. But these crooks, and then they went and got them all. It was like a massive drug bust. It's a massive bust. So
trust us. We're not after you. Trust us. We're not after you.
If you're not doing anything wrong, you'll be fine, won't you? You can use the app all day long.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. So what do you think big tech's end game is then? Like, I didn't quite join the dots there.
Complete control, data collection, right? So
Google and social media companies, do you think?
This is big business. I saw that last clip there. This is big business, collecting data on people, and so these are huge data collection, efforts, and then they sell them off. They make lots of money on this data that they collect on people. If you're a marketer, if you work for, I'm not going to mention any corporation, but if you work for any large company, you want the best way to target this new widget. You can know exactly who to sell it to, exactly what price, where to promote it on, which YouTube videos to advertise it on, right? They can target it. So this is it's about money. But more importantly, via the government, it's about control. The CBDC, it's not about convenience, people. This is about control. They want to be able to control what you spend your money on. They want to see what you're spending your money on. Heaven forbid you vote for the wrong political party, you might not be able to spend some of your CBDCs, some of your tokens. Heaven forbid you want to buy a gun, or you want to buy a car that actually runs.
I was in the police app saying the cops suck. Man, I'm off to the gulag. Off you go, pal.
There you go. So it's about control, and he who controls the data controls you. Because they're going to know everything about you. You in Australia, I'm talking about the DIA app. You already have your version of a DIA app, right? Doesn't your country offer an app where you can store all of your relevant major documents?
Yeah, so it's called the MyGov app. And you have like Service New South Wales for the state that I live in here. And so my New South Wales driver's license is in there. But then Medicare is a federal thing, right? So in MyGov, Medicare is there. And if you had government benefits, then you have Centrelink. And Centrelink is connected to the Australian Tax Office. And all of those things are intertwined and they're all put together. So, a lot of it's actually really convenient and it's super good. And then if you're using it for all the right things, it's a good thing. But the problem is that they're not going to use them for the right things. They're going to use them to control you. So I try to take a balanced view of it, and I see you kind of like reeling back in the chair, going, "No, Rob, no, don't buy into it, don't buy into it." And I'm trying to give these people the benefit of the doubt that maybe that they've woken up a little bit, and maybe that they are. And here's the mistake that I keep making, is that I believe that I'm right about those people. I believe that whenever you see the Senate estimates there and someone asks a really tough, truther type question that you and I would ask, these people are genuinely trying to do the right thing. They're genuinely trying to do it, but they're constrained within the boundaries of the system that they work in, and they're not in control of the system that they work in. And everyone absolves themselves of responsibility by staying at arm's length from it, going, no, it was not me. It was a third-party company. No, it's not me doing it. It's that other department over there. And I don't really recall what actually happened. I don't recall how we took $50 million out of a government bank account and handed it to that security company. I don't recall how that actually happened. Was that you, Jono? Was Steve? Was that you, mate? Fucked if I know. Like, they just don't recall. So what I'm saying is, like, all of this deep state, like, stuff that we're talking about is run by people, and the people that are there are good people, but they're constrained by a system that is controlling them to do bad things. Okay. I promise you, man, if you saw that guy in the pub down the road, you talk to him, he'd just be a normal dude.
I was just following orders.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Did that sound familiar?
I don't know what they were doing in that chamber over there. That oven, I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure what that oven was. Yeah.
Well, people have to make a choice at some point in their life. Like I said, I know. Hitler thought he was a good guy, right? He thought he was a patriot. Right?
We got to find that video where the two Nazi guys are like, we're the bad guys. Yeah. Yes, you are bad guys, dickhead.
No, I know that look, when you have so many people working for the government. What are the stats like? 1 out of 5 people in America, work for the government, one form or another. When you have that many, of course, you have some honest people. They're just making a living, right? They don't have an axe to grind. They don't have an agenda. But the entity does. The people at the top, people running all these entities, people at the top, they do have agendas. The vast majority of the people at the FBI, I'm sure, are honest. cops.
They're just normal. They're just normal people making a living. Exactly what you're saying, doing a job that they love.
And they want to do it the right way. Yeah. But when their bosses make a decision, they've got to follow the decision. That's why when we had the whistleblower testimony there a couple of weeks ago from the FBI on the FBI.
Yeah.
And they told us how the FBI ruined their lives. And these men were patriots. And their advice to other people who were thinking about blowing whistle on the FBI was don't do it. Yeah. Because they will destroy your life. And the people who are going to destroy your life are the guys sitting in the A suite. They're the ones that set the agenda. They give the orders, and you follow the orders, or you're fired, or they'll destroy you. Right.
And that's why I come out and say, I've never said these things in my life, and just in the last couple of weeks, you've heard me say it a few times. Whatever you do, folks, don't join the military. Do not, under any circumstances, join the military. And if you're in the military, maybe consider leaving, because they're going to put you in such difficult positions to wrestle with the ethics of what it is that you believe in. Are China the enemy at the gates? I don't know. Well, the government is going to tell you to close with and destroy the Chinese enemy shortly. They're going to tell you to do that. And you're going to put your life on the line for a senile old man. And here in Australia, for a left-leaning, greeny freak that thinks that he can control the weather with his pen. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you do anything that any of these people say, man? Like, well, don't do it. Don't join.
Yeah. Otherwise, you might wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of, do you want to live forever?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm out.
Robotics or Neuralink or not? Yeah, yes, I do.
Out. I'm out of here.
Fuck you and your machine gun charge.
But what have we started? We might have started a movement here, Robbie.
I like it, man. I like it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to remind everybody to come on over and join us as a podcast at your favorite podcasting app. And don't forget to scroll on down in the show notes today and join the Telegram channel. And also another reminder that today's show is brought to you by you. In this crazy, uncertain world, we all need a way to protect and insulate ourselves from the outside forces that we simply cannot control. I'm a news junkie, and after a lifetime of constantly immersing myself in the darkness and the despair that engulfs the world, the path to shield myself and my family has become crystal clear. I want to invite you to come and join me in the Unspoken Truth community, where I'll show you how I protect my family from this crazy world. You'll get access to 3 masterclasses worth over $1,000, as well as our live events, training, and community of truthers just like you. Come on over to the unspokentruth.com.au and join us for just 50 cents a day. What are you waiting for? Get started now at the unspokentruth.com.au. All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you come on over to the Unspoken Truth. Check out the link. The link is in the description, so you don't have to type that. Come on over, check out the site, 50 cents a day. No excuse not to join. A couple of masterclasses in there worth more than $1,000. And it's a really good opportunity to network with people. We're just getting started with that community, and that's going to grow to something pretty special over the next couple of months, I believe, as we get a little bit bigger. I got some unspoken truth for you here today, folks, and I mentioned at the top of the show that I believe that this is maybe some of the most important things that I've ever shared with you. And I'm not trying to be some sort of prophet or some sort of savant that knows what's going to happen in the future. I can't possibly know that. But if you start to stand back and look and analyze at all the news that's coming out and the narrative of the mainstream, it becomes pretty apparent what's actually going on. So let me join some dots to you, and I'm going to kind of tic-tac around in a couple of different subjects and show you where I'm at with it. And it will give you some scope and some idea to prepare and what you can do about these particular things. But before I do any of that, I want to show a video that this video came out earlier today. I'm just going to turn the sound down because you don't need to hear any of that. Have you seen this video, Ed?
No, not this one. No.
Not this one. So this is Joe Biden at the Air Force Academy graduation. So I'll just pull the slider back there. So he's the fella on stage. So if you're listening to this, I'm just describing it for you. So the fella on stage is getting his award in his nice fancy uniform. He looks like $1 million with all his mates there. They're all happy. They finished, went through a really hard course. The president's there to shake hands. What an awesome way to get your graduation certificate. The president of the United States. It's pretty cool. Like Joe Biden or not, that's a pretty cool accolade. I reckon that's awesome. So watch what happens here. And all of these people in the crowd, remember, all the people in the crowd here are going to be following this person. That's a big spill, man. That looked like it hurt too. And he's like, that fucking cord there. There was no cord there, man. You fell over.
There's no cord.
Let me just play it again for context. He's standing well away from the lectern. He's nowhere near the lectern. There's nothing there that's in front of him. And he turns to his left. The guy walks away. He turns to his left and then goes down like a sack of potatoes. No push bike involved at all there. What do you think when you see your president falling over like that, Ed?
Well, you know, I mean, I laugh because of who he is. You don't want to laugh at an old man, you know, falling down.
It's actually not that funny because I saw it. And I saw it at first, and I kind of went. I had a small snigger, but then I was like, "Ooh, that looked like it hurt." It's something like 75% of elderly people die from falls like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you break a hip, man, it
that's right.
all sorts of problems. And he could have easily broken a hip. So yeah, falls and nothing. But so we made our disclaimer. All right, it's not good to laugh at old people falling, but
it is a bit though.
Yeah, it is. But it is kind of. Okay,
there's a whole TV show that went for 30 years called Funniest Home Videos. Remember?
Yeah.
And all we did was laugh at people falling over. Now we have social media.
Well, listen, this is our commander and fucking chief. Okay, right
there it is.
And he ran on his youth and vitality, and he rides bikes. Of course, he falls down half the time when he's on the bike, but he rides bikes and he goes for long walks. And you know, there's nothing to worry about here. No, I'm a young 105. So he's so he set himself up. I mean, you know, he always bragged about his virility and his agility, but this keeps on happening. So he brought on this ridicule. He gave us the green light to ridicule.
There was another event earlier in the week. I couldn't find the footage because it was super short. It was him, Kamala, and Lloyd Austin, and the cameras from the side, so they're kind of walking towards the camera, and so he's in the lead, Kamala's behind him, and Lloyd Austin's behind him. And it's at a military parade or a presentation or something, right? And they're walking out and they stop, and then as they're facing the camera, then they turn to their left, and he points at the mark on the ground, and he goes, is that the mark? And Kamala's like, that's the mark, yes, that's the mark. Where else is it going to be, sort of thing. She's like covering for him. And then he steps up to the mark and he goes like this. And yawns. Well, it's like, I don't want to be there either, dude, but you know, you're the boss.
You know what the really sad part about all of this is, though, is that I would rather have him than Kamala.
And then you see Lloyd Austin next to both of them, like he's the most disinterested person in the world. He's like has no emotion on his face at all. He's like, it's funny. All right, let's stop making fun of Joe Biden. But I can't help it because over here in the next video, watch, he can't even make it through less than 1 minute of the video without tripping up over his words. But I want you to listen very carefully to what he says because this is like really super important. And it'll make you like have high eyebrows and go, what are you talking about? Here we go.
Intelligence community, domestic terrorism from white supremacists is the most lethal terrorist threat in the homeland. To that end, our administration is carrying out the first ever comprehensive effort to tackle the threat posed by domestic terrorism.
So Joe Biden saying that white supremacists are the biggest threat to what?
Okay,
what on earth are you talking about?
I know where you're going with this, and I hope you lean into it. Okay, It's starting. There is no white supremacy movement in America.
And that's where I'm trying to go here with this video. I want to establish that first of all.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when I think of that, I think of people in white sheets with white things over their heads burning crosses. That's what I think of when I think white supremacist. Is there some other flavor of that I don't know about?
There is no version of it. Never seen a video at a convention of white supremacists. There's no video of a parade of white supremacists marching down the street.
But there's a BLM one.
a lot of BLM ones.
Sorry. There's a CIA one.
Yeah, CIA one. Yeah,
It's a CIA operation. The whole thing is.
I agree. And George Soros is all sorts of nefarious parties behind that. And talk about a racist organization and a scam. That was one of the biggest scams ever perpetrated. Right behind global warming. It's right.
That trumps global warming, does it?
Yeah. So
they've been trying to get you. They're trying to scare you that the world's going to end for 30 years, and BLM came along, and that was worse.
No. BLM is still right behind it. Global warming is still.
They're still in the lead.
BLM is right behind it. Yeah, I should put together my list.
We should. That's a good list.
Of evil organizations. Yeah. But the point is, there is no. I mean, if you ask them, okay, can you show us a organizational chart of the white supremacists?
Yes, I can.
Where are they?
I can show you. I can show you that they're white Catholics in suburban America that go to their school boards and complain about what's being taught to kids at school.
That's
so
it.
They label them domestic terrorists.
That's it.
Then there's the FBI operation to infiltrate a so-called militia to go and kidnap somebody, but they were the ones that instigated it. Then there's the people at January 6th that actually created all of that and instigated all of that. We now know none of what I'm saying is a conspiracy theory, and I'm testing the boundaries of the electric fence to see if I get zapped or not.
You know where to get the fence.
Because all of it is true. We all know
it's all documented.
Yeah. We also know that the deep state, CIA, FBI had direct lines into Twitter, direct lines into Facebook, into YouTube, and all of those things. We also know that the Australian government outsourced all of their deep state work to another third-party company here in Sydney, and they were the arbiters of truth. So none of this is fake. So all of this, folks, that I'm talking about comes from the OG truther, Alex Jones. He wrote a book recently called The Great Reset and the War for the World. I really encourage you to go and get yourself a copy of that audio book and have a listen to it. I've listened to that audio book 3 times. And I'd encourage you to head on over to his channel as well. And I've got his channel down in the description. You won't find any of that in YouTube or Rumble or anything like that. It's on their own link called band.video. And the link is there just down below in the show notes as well. So go over and check out the OG himself and see what he has to say about it. He rants and raves a bit and screams and shouts a little bit, but if you can kind of get used to him, that's kind of just his personality more than it is a put on. And he's actually pretty funny. He says a lot of funny things. And in the audio book, some guy impersonates his gravelly voice really well. It's really well done.
It's not him? Okay.
No, it's not him. No, but you'd be like, is that him? It's like, no, it's not. His voice isn't that gentle. With his voice is much harsher. But that book is really worth a listen, and it kind of it highlights a whole bunch of things. So, in the last couple of years, Alex Jones has been saying that white supremacists and racially based mass shootings will be the catalyst and the thing that comes to a head in the United States. And it's all leading up to this one particular thing. So I want you to go over and look at the video from the 31st of May, which is what I shared with you yesterday, Ed, and have a look at that and see what he says. And this is a little snippet from mainstream media. So let's take a look at this and we'll talk some more about this.
Indicators, including online chatter. While the report does not suggest an imminent threat, the Homeland Security Secretary has warned lone wolf actors and small bands of extremists are among the greatest domestic threat because they are hard to detect, disrupt, and can mobilize quickly.
So what they're saying is homegrown terrorists are the biggest threat to national security. And so Joe Biden's saying, so let's join the dots. Joe Biden's saying that white supremacists are the biggest threat to national security. Now mainstream media is coming out saying that white supremacists, and I didn't play that whole video there. Let me just play that again because the whole video didn't play. So let me just add that back to the stream and play it again.
And tactics from right-wing extremists. Catherine Herridge has more on this, and she joins us from Washington. Catherine, we understand the power grid could be a target?
Good morning. According to the intelligence report obtained by CBS News, these groups have developed credible and specific plans to attack the power grid since at least 2020 as a way to disrupt the country and the ability of government to operate. The report warns extremists adhering to a range of ideologies will likely continue to plot and encourage physical attacks against power networks, which include more than 6,400 plants and nearly 500,000 miles of high-voltage lines. While the bulletin emphasized small-scale attacks are unlikely to cause widespread power loss, it may cause disruption to critical infrastructure like hospitals and police departments. Homeland Security noted several indicators, including online chatter. While the report does not suggest an imminent threat, the Homeland Security Secretary has warned lone wolf actors and small bands of extremists are among the greatest domestic threat because they are hard to detect, disrupt, and can mobilize quickly.
All right, so when we join the dots, and Alex Jones joins the dots for you, and it's something that I've been talking about for a while, that if the Russians decide to attack the United States with nuclear weapons, it won't be like the ground burst in a Terminator movie. I've said that so many times. It's an EMP strike with super EMP weapons that with 4 or 5 of those weapons from one missile will destroy the United States because it'll take down the power grid. But they're not going to actually take down the power grid, folks. They're not going to destroy the infrastructure. The infrastructure will stay in place. And so what Alex Jones is saying and what he's predicting, and the reason you need to go and look at his channel is because he's got like 2 years of history showing you the lead up to that stuff, and he's showing you actually how this plays out, and he pulls out these little clips. And remember, MSNBC is a mouthpiece of the CIA and the deep state. And what they're doing is they're conditioning the world to see that this is actually happening. And what Alex is saying is they're going to use white supremacists, whatever the hell that means, as the false flag to attack the power grid. And they'll pretend like there's a bunch of people that go around with 50 cals, so anti-material rifles, shooting up electrical transformers, causing the power to go off. So we put a video on yesterday with Klaus Schwab saying the biggest threat to our existence is the power grid going down. And Klaus is saying that it's got to do with hacking. So what Alex is saying, if you have the American government join the dots between Russian hackers and white supremacists, when they join those dots, that's when they've rolled this plan out and it's actually in action. And what he's saying will happen is that they'll create a false flag where white supremacists shoot up these power stations and these substations. Remember, you shoot out the transformer, there's not another transformer sitting on the shelf to actually roll out there. So there's 18 critical transformers in the United States, and you could take down the entire power grid if you take down those 18. No one knows which they are, but I'm certain intelligence agencies know exactly where they are because you could just examine everything where it is. But it doesn't matter. And in that report, they're saying that it's unlikely to cause massive disruption, but it will cause localized pain. And what Alex is saying is that they will turn off the power in an area like Texas, which covers a whole bunch of the United States. So they'll turn it all off there. They'll turn the internet off as well and say the reason that this is happening is because we've been attacked by white supremacists who are backed by Russian hackers and they've hacked the network. And in order to stop the spread of this happening, we saw in the Klaus Schwab videos that they put out from the WEF that these viruses replicate every 8.5 seconds. And in order to stop that from happening, we have to turn the power off and we have to turn the internet off. And the power goes off, the internet goes off. Now the financial system goes away completely. And then all of a sudden you have complete and total reliance upon the government because society will collapse. And I was talking to my missus yesterday about this, Ed, and I was saying that it doesn't matter how much you prep. It doesn't matter if I've got like 2 years worth of food in my cupboard here. It doesn't matter because, I've got dry goods there. Yeah, sure, I can eat. But if the power goes off, will there be water? I don't know, because all the pumps are off, right? Yeah, so there's no water that can get to me. So if you're going to prep with something, you need to have some water.
Damn right, damn straight. Yeah, I was wondering where you're going to that. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Yeah, and well, I don't think any amount of prepping is going to be able to help you. You'll survive to a point. So I think where I'm going with it is prepping is not the right mindset. Yeah, the right mindset is a survivalist mindset, which is quite different to prepping. So if you're taking your mind there that, okay, the power's going to go off and they're going to leave the power off for 3 months. So I don't have access to the internet. I don't have access to electricity or anything like that for the next 3 months. Where does that leave me? What do I have to do? So now the government is going to force you to comply with everything that they say, because they're going to make you dependent on everything, for food, for water, for shelter, for clothing, for absolutely everything.
Sure.
And it's the complete and total destruction of society. Even if they did that in 3 states in the United States and it went for 3 months, it would destroy the entire American economy.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yep.
Completely. And so you'll be forced to comply with what the government tell you to do, meaning you'll need the digital ID. We're going to turn the power on for 2 hours a day. We believe that we've found a workaround, and the workaround allows us to turn the power and the internet on. So when the power's on, make sure you charge your phone. Yeah, because you're not going to be able to get food unless you charge your phone. You're not going to be able to get water unless you charge your phone. You're not going to be able to be self-reliant unless you charge your phone.
Yep.
And then that's how they're going to get you to comply. Look, we understand the banking system is not working anymore, so we're just going to dispense with that. It's too much of a mess. We can't fix it. It's just in a giant, it's a big ball of spaghetti, and we can't fix it. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll out the central bank digital currencies here. Here you go. Here's get your MyGov or your DIA app or your version of that app. And here's, if you want to go through that checkpoint there seems to be a lot of like marauding militias around here. Those white supremacists, we can't fucking trust those guys. So if you want to go past the checkpoint down there where the cops are, you need to show your phone, show your ID, and we're just going to track you through there as well. So we are on the precipice of this happening.
Yep. No. Amen. And by the way, this isn't the first time that Rob and I have talked about this. This is not, but I'm glad Rob is bringing it up again and putting emphasis on it, because what Alex Jones is highlighting and what Rob just showed, that clip from MSNBC, this is a setup. Okay, they're laying the groundwork. They're telling you, they're right now getting you used to the idea that white supremacists are out there and they're waiting to do something nefarious. So
they took it off the shelf, man. That's what Alex says. He goes, they took it off the shelf, was in the warehouse, and now they're rolling it out slowly. It's like a tracked vehicle. You know when you see like a rocket going out to the launch pad? It's like that. The rocket's been rolled out to the launch pad. It's a good analogy, man. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. And you and I have been talking about this forever, and I know I have been on my channel, is that everything's in place to put the digital IDs are worked out, the CBDCs are worked out. Now they need a big event.
Klaus has said that, the big event. And the big event is, this. If you think this war was not created for this actual event, maybe the whole thing was because of this event. And in order for this to happen, we don't have white supremacists here in Australia.
We don't have them here either.
and they don't exist anywhere else in the world either, by the way. But what we've got is we've got the ability to follow exactly what the world government wants us to do, which is to get everybody to comply. And this is how they're going to do it. And so, because I was scratching my head thinking, if they rolled something out like that in America, could they do that here in Australia? They could, because they would just say, the Russian hackers got into the Australian grid as well. And by the way, the power's off, and you get your phone and you do as you're told, like that.
Yeah, well, if anything, it's probably more likely it happened there first than here, because here it's a much bigger scale. It's much bigger effort. So,
but that's why I think they'll do it there first, because it's the destruction of it. Is this some tinfoil hat wearing stuff? Are we crazy, Ed?
Oh, I'd love to hear from the group. Anybody out there, what's your opinion? Please let us know in the comment section below. Do you think we are nuts? Forget the fact that we've been 100% right up until now with all of our predictions for the past couple of years on our channels. Forget that. Just let's say you're watching us for the first time. Do we sound crazy? Do we sound like I
feel like I sound crazy when I'm saying it out loud. I'm recording on a video. It sounds crazy, man. But,
I know.
But
it does.
I thought the pandemic was crazy too, and I deliberately kept my mouth shut. I deliberately was silent about that. But I can't be silent about this.
No.
And if you're in the police force, if you're a police officer and you're out there enforcing this, meaning they turn the power off and you're out there enforcing the checkpoints, and you're pushing the laws of the land onto people to get them to download the app, to check their papers, to do all that. You're as complicit as the SS guard in
Shame on you.
Auschwitz.
Shame on you.
Yeah, shame on you. And we need to fight back against this. And the way that we fight back with this is with information and telling people about this stuff, and maybe sharing it. Is that a crazy conspiracy? Are you part of the deep state parroting what Alex Jones is saying and telling the world about? Well, maybe. But why don't you have a look at it and decide for yourself? have a look and see, because I watch mainstream media all the time and I can see the fake narrative behind it. Apparently, there's funny things going around Facebook, when people were saying, oh, I've had 2 jabs, and they put this funny circle around their profile picture. There's pictures going around yesterday saying, I've taken my garlic today, and it's around there. And we talked about that yesterday. Is garlic a cure-all for COVID? Well, I don't know. They say that it is. Why is the deep state telling me that it is, but they don't show me any actual conclusive evidence of it? And then if I ask for evidence of it, they go, no, you're just a denier. You're one of those people. Well, show me. I trust you, but I'm trying to verify. Is it okay if I try and verify something? Show me that. And it's the same as this stuff here that I'm talking about, right? We can't deny that Joe Biden stood at a lectern and said that the biggest threat to the United States is white supremacists. And then we can't deny that mainstream media is out there saying that that's the biggest threat to the electrical grid is white supremacist groups and militia groups. Like, what? That's true.
And you also cannot deny all the video clips out there of policemen beating up peaceful demonstrators who just wanted, right? Beating them up with sticks and hauling them away and putting them in concentration camps, telling them they can't go over that yellow line, and if they do, they're going to be fined $10,000, right?
The irony is all of that was tossed out here in Australia. The cops went and did that, beat the living daylights out of plenty of people. There's footage of cops in Melbourne asking...
So finally they get around to throwing it out. But in the meantime, a lot of damage, a lot of lives were ruined.
Oh, massive. Yeah, massive amount. There was footage of in Melbourne during COVID at a protest or some shit, I don't know. And the cops said, all right, get out of here. And so everyone left. They were leaving, going back to their cars, complying with what the police had told them to do. And then the cops are like, who's that? Is that dude? And you see, and they run across, the police officers run across the road, swinging haymakers, man, punching people in the face. But the cops, nothing happens to them. Imagine if there was a group of 20 of my mates, and we ran across the road and started bashing cops. Imagine what would happen to us. They'd pull their guns out and start shooting. And rightly so. They've got to defend themselves. But these protesters who have complied and done what the police had told them are getting bashed, punched, kicked and punched by police officers. Those police officers are the same as Nazi SS guards. Sorry, listen, I'm calling it.
All of you deep state enablers out there, you crooked cops, you government officials who just follow orders. If your conscience is bothering you and you feel like you can't afford to stick up because you got to make a living, you got a family to support. If you need a way to make a living, if you want an alternative, check with Rob.
We've got a few.
There you go.
It's not that hard. I promise you. It's not that hard at all. It's pretty easy, actually.
Yeah, imagine if you had a few passive income streams coming in, so you have the freedom of giving the finger to those evil.
And you can tell your boss to get fucked off.
Yeah. So we got the answer for you. We got the solution. So now that you've heard that, you have no more excuse. So do the right thing. All right, you people resist the evil orders that come down. The next time they ask you to put somebody in an oven or whatever, or don't do it.
Or to go and bash a protester for no reason. Don't do it. Next time they ask you to pepper spray an old lady on the ground, don't do it. Next time they ask you to go and arrest a pregnant woman in a home for a Facebook post, don't do it. Do not follow those orders. Do not follow blindly what they're telling you to do.
Right.
Don't do it.
And every time you feel tempted to do it, log into Unspoken Truth. Log into the community.
Join the community, pay a couple of bucks, learn how to create a passive income, and then you won't have to do it. Simple as that.
We might have a massive contingency in the group of former government officials. That'd be great.
Whatever. I'll accept anybody, and I'll forgive you for your sins of the past. I'm not a perfect person either. That's for sure.
On your resume, you can put recovering government official.
I'm a recovering government official myself. Whatever you do, don't join the government. Don't join the military. Don't join the military. Do not join the military. Let me say that.
You want to live forever?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes. I want cybernetic. I want to be a cyborg, man. I don't care about any of that shit. All right. Let's shift gears away from that a little bit. I was doing some more research as you do. I was doing heaps of research yesterday on Twitter where all the real people hang out. And I came across this video, which I think is really good. And I wanted to kind of fact checked a little bit. I wanted to do my own research. Remember, people made fun of you for doing your own research. And I want to do my own research before I decide what I'm going to put into my body. And then you were mocked. You want to do your own research? What are you, a laboratory assistant now? Are you a PhD scientist now? No, dickhead, I'm just fucking reading. Yeah, because don't mock me for reading. I just want to show you a quick video. It just goes for about a minute, and then we're going to talk about that a little bit. It's kind of funny. It's a bit polarizing as well, so check it out.
Evolved to attack the West. If you don't understand that, you will not act correctly. You will not cure it, and it will conquer your countries. It will conquer all of Europe, and we will have a very, very long, sustainable, and inclusive future with absolutely no freedom. Because the goal is to make us into what they call global citizens. Have you heard this term? This term is nonsense. There's no global sovereign, so there is no global citizenship. There's no relationship because there's no ruler. And we don't want a ruler of the globe. It's a nonsense term. But they tell you, if you actually read their literature, what is a global citizen? It's somebody, I kid you not, I make no joke. They say this themselves. It's somebody who supports the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations Agenda 2030. That's a global citizen. And they say, what are the rights of a global citizen? This is in a book about global citizenship education published 2 years ago. What are the rights of a global citizen? And the answer, one paragraph later, is we're not that interested in rights with global citizenship. It's more about global responsibilities. In other words, slavery. This is a pivotal moment in the history of the Western world. The model that they are pushing us toward, using the means and mechanisms of that place, is the model we see in China. If you want to know what your future looks like if we don't stop the woke, look at China. Look at the social credit system. Look at the oppression. Look at people disappearing for having the wrong opinions. One of their greatest billionaires, Jack Ma, said the wrong thing about the government and disappeared. A billionaire. If you want to know what the future of Europe and America and the Five Eyes or whatever the countries, it's China. That's the model. So we have to fight back against woke, but to fight back against woke, we have to understand it. And I will close by restating my thesis. Woke as Marxism evolved to take on the West. And it's been very successful so far because we haven't known our enemy. We cannot name our enemy. And I've come here to name our enemy. So thank you for your time and attention. And
All right. So he says woke is Marxism in disguise. So I go to ChatGPT and I'm like, is woke Marxism in disguise? And it's like, gives me some fluffy, politically correct answer. So I asked ChatGPT another way. I said, tell me the characteristics of a communist and a Marxist. And so tell me if this sounds like woke people. One, so the number one thing, the AI, the most sophisticated language model we have on planet Earth, says that the number one thing that communists and Marxists are interested in are committed to equality. Like, what? Committed to equality. Really? Committed to social justice. Number two. Number three, emphasis on material conditions. Number four, critique of capitalism. They study the theory all the time, and then they have revolutionary aspirations. Tell me if that doesn't sound like BLM. That doesn't sound like the left, the trans, all of those movements, particularly that first one, committed to equality. So I can see how the CIA, deep state, and the evil people controlling the world would say, all right, what we're going to do to divide and conquer is say white supremacists, because we don't really know who they are, we can't define who that group is, are now the enemy. If I said to you that ISIS were the enemy, it would be easy to identify ISIS because they've got a very clear belief system and they show themselves. They're not hiding in plain sight. But if I said to you that the Sunni minority of this religious sect in Iraq was the enemy, you'd go, okay, cool, who are they, where do they live? You'd be able to identify. If it was the Shia militias that were led by Muqtada al-Sadr in this part of the world, you'd go, okay, cool, who is he? He's the boss guy? All right, cool, who is he? But when we say white supremacists, we say, well, there's no what are you talking about? Are you talking about Ku Klux Klan people, militias? Are you talking about survivalists, preppers, Catholics, parents speaking out against?
Yep.
It's a very, very good play. And when you talk about being committed to equality, that's what Marxist ideology is about. That's what we see in this trans movement. And without realizing, everybody that's fighting for this equity is spouting the Marxist ideology without realizing it. And I bet you if you hold a mirror up to them and tell them that and say, do you realize you're sprouting the Soviet doctrine from the 1930s? That's what you're doing. They go, what are you talking about? Well, you want equality. You want boys and girls to use the same bathrooms. You want boys to be girls and girls to be boys. And you want everyone to sit around in a circle, hold hands and sing Kumbaya. That's the same thing that Marxists and communists want. So that guy in his like 1 minute speech there is 1000% correct. And I can see how they're trying to divide society along those lines, man. It's a very, very scary and nefarious thing.
Well, for the leftists, the definition of a white supremacist is anybody with traditional or conservative values. It's anybody who disagrees with the woke agenda. That's all it takes to be categorized as a white supremacist. And even if you're black, you will be labeled a white supremacist. Okay.
What happens if you're Asian?
White supremacist. White supremacist.
What if you're from South America?
White supremacist.
German.
White supremacist.
Definitely.
White supremacist with an accent. So this is about ideology. It's about tribalism, and this whole setup right now. They're warning us in advance that the white supremacists are up to something. They're up to something. So that,
what are you up to, pal?
And I'll tell you when they're going to roll it out during the next presidential cycle, when the Democratic nominee, whoever it is falling in the polls and he's struggling and he's in trouble. That's when it's going to be rolled out.
So soon.
Yep. Well, no, I think it'd be deep into the election cycle.
So another 12 months.
Yeah. So I think they want to do it as close to the actual election as possible, so that it's fresh in people's minds. They don't want to pull the trigger too soon, because then people might get over it. They might forget about the catastrophe. They want it to be an imminent, threat to their way of life, right? And the only way to avoid that threat is to vote for our guy. But
you're kind of extrapolating that along the timeline related to an election. I disagree with that a little bit, because they're already in power. And when somebody is in power, history shows us that they will never ever relinquish power. If they have it, they'll never ever let it go.
Let me tell you this though. They are in power right now, and they're doing a lot of damage right now. They're having a field day right now. The thing that they're pushing through, the border is wide open.
If you speak out against that, pal, you're going to end up on the watch list immediately.
Oops. Our
viewership's going to go up, and it's going to be consistent of government workers. Yeah. And I'm trying to charge my thing here as I'm doing it, and my electricity will be cut off. So there's no more notes that I could possibly write.
Well, at least your ESG score will go. Listen, so where's it going? Our strategic petroleum reserve is being depleted daily. Okay, we're funding tuition bailouts. We just fully funded the IRS to the tune of $86 billion to hire 80,000 new IRS agents with guns. Why the hell an IRS agent needs a gun is beyond me to begin with. These guys are fucking accountants. What do they need a gun for? The IRS now has more guns than the U.S. military has. Think about that. So the progressives right now, they're having a field day. So why waste the bullet right now? So it's in the chamber. It's ready to pull.
Sense.
It's ready to pull when they see their power starting to diminish. Hey, we didn't get away with that last project. We gotta beef up our bona fides here. Hey, let's roll out that. So
it could be sooner than you think. All this whole web is interconnected, right? And the reason I say that is before, maybe 10 minutes before I came on here with you today, I was looking at my Telegram feed, and Ursula von der Leyen, the boss of the EU, coming out and saying we should give Ukraine NATO security guarantees without them being in NATO. And Jens Stoltenberg has said on several occasions, he goes, it's a non-starter. I'm not having the conversation with you because they're at war. No, I'm not having it. And she's like, come on. And Zelensky's like, I saw a message on the Ukrainian propaganda saying that Zelensky is demanding, they were the words they used, demanding entry to the EU, so to become a member, and then demanding to be part of NATO. And then Ursula von der Leyen coming out in the very next post, as I scroll through my feed, saying she's pushing for NATO security guarantees. So what that means is if they all get together in Brussels and sign some documents and say, okay, now you can come under the NATO umbrella. All right, so next missile strike, next something, we're going to send NATO in there. And then the minute that NATO actually get involved in that, now the Russians are going to let their hackers off the leash and they're going to go ahead and follow their doctrine, space, cyber, EMP, all of those things that we've talked about for the last year or so. And that's potentially when you will see the cyber attack and all of the militia groups and the white supremacist groups there in the United States do that. So it might, in my view, is that all of this is within the next 3 to 6 months. It is sooner than you think. So you got to get prepping while the prepping is good, and you got to get buying your stocks of dry stores and your water while you can, in the event that they turn the power off. For heaven's sake!
Yeah.
What the hell?
Okay. So now you're a prepper again?
Well, a survivalist. I'm going to survive no matter what, right? And because it's my job to survive. Yeah. I didn't have didn't have generations of thousands of people bring me to here only to capitulate to these evil regimes that are in power trying to get you to supplicate and to control you. Sure, I've had my kids and my kids are grown up and, I've got nothing to lose, right? So I'm going to resist with everything that I've got in every way that I can. I'm going to resist everything that the government tell me to do. And I'm not going to, and you should as well. Every sovereign person should resist everything the government tells them to do. In the last 3 years, they can't be trusted, man. They're poisoning the population, killing millions of people, people.
I think we agree that it's going to be virtually impossible to avoid the matrix completely.
It's not possible. You have to be, you're in it, but you can resist it.
Yeah, you have to do, but you do want to be proactive and do. There are some things you can do that are simple to do, and
I've got my blinders on.
And there are some simple things, so you should be doing them. If you have more than a month's worth of bill paying in the bank, you have too much money in the bank.
Yeah.
Okay. And for several reasons, get your money out of the damn bank.
That's the way to make the banks to go away all at once, is just to turn the power off, man, because the economies will just collapse. And every one of those financial institutions is sailing so close to the breeze with their cash flow and their exposure that the minute you turn it off for a couple of hours, and then hours turn into days, turn into weeks, turn into months, and then all of a sudden a year's gone by, guess what? The whole thing's gone away.
Well, your bank does not have a vault. Your bank does not have your bank
numbers on a computer.
Yeah. Your money is all on. They're all in zeros and ones on a computer. So little cyber hacking and it's gone. So at the very least, put your money in physical form. That's the very least you can do is get some physical fiat currency. The very least you do is get physical currency in your hand. But then what's better to do is get a large chunk of that into actual gold and silver. Okay. But first things first get the damn money out of the damn bank in any form, in a physical form.
Good luck with that.
Well, get started on it because it's a process.
It is. Yeah.
They're not going to make it easy for you. But there's going to be a day of reckoning, and I can't tell you which day. Nobody can tell you which day. Otherwise, everyone would be out, right? But
sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it is going to happen. But when that day comes, it's going to be too late to decide to make the move. You have to do it now. You should have done it, 5 months ago. Get your money out of the bank, and then you do want to establish streams of passive recurring income to overcome the effects of inflation. And as that passive income comes in, convert it into these guys as fast as you can, and into high income producing vehicles. And we have a couple of beauties, to show you if you want to do that. But there are some things people should do, and I'll make one last point, circling back to the prepping versus surviving mentality. At this point in my life, I'm not particularly that interested in being the best shithole digger in the woods, and I can make a really good outdoor latrine, and so I'm good. What I'd rather do is be able to survive on do my in-house nesting as much as I can. Now the rule is you're supposed to have 1 gallon of fresh water per day per person, right? Now in my place right now, I've got me and my son. So I figure 2 gallons, and then I add another gallon for cooking. So I call it 3 gallons. That's the way I do my math.
You need 1 more gallon when your boy comes home, because you're going to have to scrub the nuclear fallout off him before he comes in. Then you have to wash his clothes.
We're not going anywhere. Once that starts, we're not.
Well, that's what I'm saying is if you're not going anywhere and he's outside and there's all the fallout in the ground, you have to scrub it off him, right?
We'll stay inside. We'll tape up the windows. We'll just. So my objective is to have about 5 months worth of, and so every time I go to the store, I get 4 or 5 gallons of water. So I get what I do. Here in America, we have in the beverage aisle at the end, there's a dispenser for water. So you get the little jug. So I can get a fresh, like spring water for like 90 cents. Just fill it up. And so I just get a few of those, and over the course of time, it builds. But you got to kind of, unless you're going to rent a truck and hire a couple of guys with strong backs and do it all in one shot, you got to plan it out and just get it gradually built.
Yeah, just do it as you go. Yeah, just make it something part of what you do.
But water is heavy, and it takes up a lot of space. So you got to be, if you live in an apartment building or if you live in a small house, you got to think it through. So where can I put it and store it? But that's the most important thing. Now, of course, I also have my water filter that I use. But that's kind of a last resort thing. That if I have to go to a lake, I can do it. But I'd like to have a solid 5 months or more of fresh water. Even if that emergency were to go longer than that, it gives me 5 months to figure it out, to figure something out. Right?
What's your address again?
445 fuck you lane in nowhere land.
Hey Ed, I want to close out the show today by reminding people that I'm going to show you a quick video. I want you to listen very carefully to what this lady says, and I want to remind you that these are the people that are running the world, and I'm not mucking around. These are the people that are running the world, that are in charge, that are talking about destroying the electrical grid and all this bullshit that we're talking about here today. So listen closely to what she says.
On the face of this earth, to be aware of evolution, to be aware that we are affecting our own evolution by everything that we do, the babies we eat, the food we eat, the wars we fight, the babies we eat.
It's true, man. It's true. They're the people that are running the world, and these are the crazy people. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever you do, don't eat babies. Make sure you. Ed's a little bit like, where do I go with that? Don't eat babies, man.
Okay, I just want to. So yesterday I got this in the mail, Rob. I got mine. This is my, my global citizenship passport. So did you?
It's got your Deer app inside it. They actually issue it to you. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us here on The Unspoken Truth. Hopefully you got something out of that. Hopefully it wasn't too conspiracy theory for you. It's just facts. We're just reporting on the facts and giving you our perspective on it and showing the unspoken truth behind it all. Make sure you come on over and join us as the podcast. Get us on your favorite podcasting app. And don't forget to scroll on down and join the Telegram channel. That wraps it up for the show. Ed, have you got any final comments, or is that it for you, mate?
I'll load up on those canned goods, my friends.
There it is. We're going to need them. All right, let's get out of here. See you, Ed. See you tomorrow, mate.
See you, buddy.